Welcome back, everybody. G-Bear homesteading the desert on June 10th, 2018. You're looking at my compost bin here. You can see I got some mixed compost and desert soil in there. That all came from my gardens over there on the other side of the homestead, the raised bed gardens that I had over there. Well, I took them all apart and I had a bunch of this compost that was mixed in with the soil, so I brought it over here. And the reason it's in here is I was going to put a concrete floor down in here so that I could scoop up with my bucket and mix it. But then I started thinking, well, the only reason I wanted the concrete floor is so that the tunneling critters don't come up from underneath. But I had this piece of 4x6 aviary wire. As you can see, it's sticking up in the corner there, in that corner. And it's rolled up on the front face here up against these blocks where it's going to be aerating through anyway. And it fit perfectly in the bottom of there. So I put it in there, and then I took all this mixed dirt with rocks and everything like that, and I put it on top of it to hold it down. Now I can start adding my compost and my table scraps and things like that and get this thing going. And when I turn it over and turn it over and turn it over, I'm thinking what I might do is I might even lay a piece of visqueen down on there to start with and just let that stuff be underneath it. So when I get down to the visqueen, I know it's time to quit digging, and that way I won't hook the wire and pull it up or anything like that. But once this settles in, I think it's going to be fine, and we'll see how that works out. Let's move on over here, because the next thing I did was I worked inside the garden house, and you can see some of the compost here from bringing the ATV bucket over with compost in it. And what I did in here was my Fuji apple tree. I got it transplanted into the big pot. My Concord grapevine clone. And this is a clone off that original grapevine over there that the desert ground squirrels killed on me last year. And this branch was just a clone that I took off and got it started. And now it's taken root and it's doing its thing. So now it's protected in a pot where then those critters aren't going to get to it. And once this thing gets going really well, I'm just going to cut the bottom of the pot out and let it sink its teeth down into the ground with the wire protecting the upper part of it. All right, here, my mandarin tangerine clone. And this was an air layer off of my original mandarin tangerine. And I do have little tangerines on there. So around the outside here, I planted some cilantro, because cilantro likes shade. So this tree's already got some leaves on it, and it gives it shade. So I'll get that cilantro going around underneath there, and then I'll come and pick it as I need it. Next bucket. This one's all topped off and ready. What I did was I got some more of my seeded potatoes that already had eyes growing out of them, and I've been saving them. So I planted 4 of them down inside of there. Yeah, I think it was 3. I planted 3 of them down in there. 2 of them are gold Yukons, and one of them was a russet. So let's see what comes up out of that. And I planted the whole potato, but I planted it deep because they had a lot of eyes on them. So let's see what goes from there. This one is just a reserve bucket waiting for something to get put into it. I may plant some more veggies into this one, or I might wait until my next trees come up. I've got to get about 8 more or so of these big buckets. But those are expensive. So, and as you can see, my whole area here is full along this wall. And then this corner over here is going to have my self-watering gutter garden in it. And that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, is getting the framework built for that. I've got to lay out all my pipe first to see what size I need for that, because I don't want it oversized. All it's got to do is hide the pipes underground so they stay cool, don't get hot from the sun. And then everything will be grown in buckets like these with a little hole cut out of the bottom and a little grow basket sticking out. And then my good soil will be in these. The stuff that holds and covers the pipe here, I can use desert soil. It doesn't have to be anything good in there because all it's doing is keeping the water cold inside. So there, outside there, I'll have my big 55-gallon drum, and I'll have to build something around that to protect that from getting too hot. My cloud potatoes, they're really looking healthy, doing great over there. My corn, my peppers, another pepper here. The tomato plant that Vince gave me, I took it out of the small pot and moved it up to one of the pots that I took one of these trees out of. My little tomatoes that I started from seed, they're doing well. My blue leg bush beans are up. It got too hot for the cilantro and they didn't have any shade, so they're died off. My sunions, looking real good. I got sunions down there. My carrots, looking real good. Got plenty of carrots coming up. These are my two little shade trees. I moved them up in pots. They were in pots that size. They came up to this size. So now they won't be root bound and they should grow pretty quickly. My holly oak, I moved that up from a little tiny pot like that one over there up to this big pot. So that one's got room to move. And that had a pretty good rootstock on the bottom of it. So we'll see where that goes from there. All right, that's where we are inside of here. Let's move on over. We're moving on over. All right, you see all my hens outside there. I just gave them their treat with their mealworms and peanuts and all kinds of stuff like that mixed together. They just went nuts for it. They were running around just pecking like crazy. All right, I did get a comment from one of my viewers about the inside bolt on that door looking like it was upside down. Well, this is a two-way bolt. It works either direction. And it has the notches on the top for latching and it has notches on the bottom for latching. Right now it's in the halfway position because I only use that when I go inside here. So that's not a security bolt at all. I don't have to worry about it. These little ones I used over here, these are one-way bolts. These only have the notches on the bottom. So these latch into that so that something can't paw at them and open them up. That one's unlocked because I just went inside there a little while ago to give them their mealyworms. All right. I realized that I'm going to have to do one more thing over here for the auto feeder. For the winter, I'm going to have to put a little slope roof on the inside there to protect that from rainwater. So I'm going to put one that goes on the inside out about 1 foot and one on the outside that comes out about 1 foot just to keep the water off of that stuff. This little girl here, she follows me everywhere I go. She knows I'm the guy with the food. All right, let's look inside the nesting box here because I got rid of the shavings and now we have straw nesting, and you can see they've already shaped it. I got that one shaped and got that one shaped. So let's close this one up. Another comment I got was about the kink in the hose. Well, there is a kink in the hose here and there is a kink in the hose there, but that's just because this is cheap hose and it really doesn't stop the water from flowing. They've got plenty of water in their water system. Matter of fact, one of them had the nipple stuck in the inside and it was running water inside the coop, so I had to reach in and knock that out. This little tool here I made, and that's a leftover piece of the angle iron I use for those corners. And this is my scraper, so I can flip that open. I pull that plastic piece out so it overhangs. I set the box right below it, and then I reach in and I scrape everything off of the inside plastic into the box. That's all going to end up over in the compost. So this little handy tool came in handy. Here's my straw bale, and I've got plenty. So I put straw on this side too. Let's take a look at that. Oh, I got an egg there. And I got an egg there. 2 more eggs in here already. Pretty cool. So far I've got 16 eggs out of here in 5 days. Or 6 days. And that's not a bad count. And they're all settled in now. Another thing I did add here was I took that pan water bucket and I turned that into a feed bucket, as you can see over there. And I put old cans of vegetables like peas. Right now they're going at the lima beans that are 2 years old. And they're just eating those lima beans up like crazy. I added this waterer. It's a 5-quart waterer. So I can add the water to it and it keeps it nice and fresh. As they drink it, more flows out, more flows out. When I see it get down low, I just go in there and unhook it from the string. I take it out here, and where that kinked hose was, I added a Y on here. So now I can just flip this open and fill my water up and close it back off. You see this one is open because that's feeding the auto waterers. They're not really using this upper nipple one here. So I may take that apart and I'll cut it, put an elbow inside here, drop it down lower, and I'll put some of those types that I have inside, down inside there. And then the other hanging waterer will be just a backup. So they'll have plenty of water whenever they want it. All right, that's about all. You see the wind is just starting to pick up here. I'm using my wind protected microphone so you don't have to listen to it. My antenna had rocked itself loose in that upper bracket. I had to tighten that, but I'm going to add that second antenna if it's calm again tomorrow. I got it leaning up against the shed right there. I've got my ladder out already, so I'm going to throw my ladder up there and put that second one on and tie the two together and see if I get more channels. I know if I rotate the upper antenna, I get certain channels from that direction, I get certain channels from that direction. So the way it's sitting right now, I pick up San Diego, and if I turn it a little bit more, I pick up the upper desert channels. So I'm going to try putting it so I get all of those without having to rotate the antenna. Because every time I rotate it, it knocks it out of whack, and then when the wind blows, it wiggles it out of whack, and my TV cuts on and off and that stuff. So I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, but if I'm watching the news and something important is about to be said and it cuts off, it's kind of irritating. All right, that's about it. I'll probably have to go up there and take those boxes apart tomorrow and get all my pipes in place for my self-watering garden. I don't think I have enough red hot blue glue to glue all the pipes together for that. So I might have to run into town for that, but I still want to go over to Food for Less because they have a sale on some of the things I need, and I'm going to pick it up. And I buy their water. It's Kroger water, and I don't know, it's a filtered water, plastic bottles, but it's really good tasting. I like it better than a lot of the other tasting ones. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow, hopefully. That's all. G Bear signing off from another episode of Homesteading the Desert.